Alright, Platoon, fall in. I'm a Joe, he's a Jarhead. Dude, if you shout at that camera one more time.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. I apologize for Joe over here. He spent 13 years in the Army. He's a little bit weak when he's calling a platoon to an attention. Falling, guys, everybody gather around.
That's because I'm speaking to intelligent people.
Are you?
Versus like you who have to speak by volume because the people you associate with are really too stupid to understand basic, 2 or 3 syllable words.
Fall in! Let's do this! Joe and The Jarhead! We're getting after it.
He shouted into a microphone 18 inches away.
It's toughness. I get that you don't recognize it.
Dude, there's a fine line between hard and retard, and you are on the wrong side of it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You shall see. During this show, we're got a lot of stuff to talk about.
We do.
If the Army and the Marines can play nice.
Ooh, it's a tall order. We did it last time. We can do it again.
We'll see.
Maybe. Probably not.
The introduction is, in a way, an indicator of how this show is going to go. It's not going to go good, at least for you, Joe. We're going to start off with a devotional because that's the way we like to start our shows. We are going to talk about David. I like David. So David was...
I like young David.
Yeah.
Old David was kind of a douche.
Older David, yeah, he's kind of got lazy, didn't he?
Yeah.
And a little bit too horny. So young David, yep, so this David was the one I'm talking about, was not yet king of Israel, right? He was anointed king by Samuel, so he was ready to be king, but Saul was still king. And this was when Saul was just done. For the first 2 years of Saul's reign, he was a great guy. Afterwards, not so much. He tried to kill David multiple times. But I want to talk about true friendship today, because David and Saul's firstborn son, who should have been the next in line to be king,
yep.
Jonathan, those two were best friends.
Yep.
They were awesome. And it's the perfect, ideal epitome of friendship, because Jonathan should have been next king, but he knew that David was anointed. He knew that David should have been the next in line. And he knew that his dad, the king, was trying to kill David all these times, and Jonathan went out of his way to save David a lot of the times.
He suffered his dad's wrath a few times.
Yes, he did. In 1 Samuel chapter 18 it says, "And it came to pass, and when he had made an end of speaking unto Saul, that the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as his own soul." And to me, that's what it means to be a true friend, is to love somebody like you love yourself, right? You care for them deeply. You don't want to see them hurt. Just like you don't want to see yourself hurt, right? That's what it takes to be a good friend.
Well, that's the second great commandment anyway. Love thy neighbor as thyself?
Yes.
Ah.
Well done. Be a good friend. You all have friends out there. You really do. Take good care of them.
Except for him. You have acquaintances and enemies.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, no, you're a Marine, so technically you have, targets.
Yeah, I was going to say, I used to have enemies. Killed them all.
Mm-hmm.
I'll teach you how to do that later on. What are you talking about next, Berlin?
Yeah, might as well.
You might as well.
Might as well.
About to get uglier.
Yeah, yeah. But we're going to talk about a good time in Berlin.
Good times in Berlin?
Well, good time on a relative scale. This is just after the end of World War II. So, June 26th, 1948, the Berlin airlift began, which is a good thing. It shouldn't have had to be a good thing, but it was a necessary step because the Soviets had blockaded Berlin. They were trying to starve the population of Berlin into submission, into becoming communists. And the Berliners really didn't want to have anything to do with it. So they were holding out, but there's really not a lot you can grow in a city. So
Berlin was split at this time, right? At East and West?
Ish, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
because we divided after World War II.
Correct. And the Soviets, after that, retained control of East Berlin, and we got West Berlin.
Yeah.
And that's the only real... West Berlin was entirely located in East Germany. So they're surrounded by communists. It's this tiny little pocket of liberty amidst a sea of oppression.
Yep.
And they were being starved out. And it took what came to be known as the Berlin airlift, which was U.S. and British planes landing tons of food and supplies every single day. Within 2 months, we were dropping off 2,500 tons of food by aircraft every single day. By the end of it, we were up to 4,500 tons a day. There was a plane landing in the Berlin airport, a U.S. or British cargo plane, every 4 minutes for almost a year. And in the end, because the Soviets didn't have the bomb at that point, and they didn't want to risk going to war with us, when we were the sole nuclear power on Earth, they ended up capitulating and backing off of Berlin and allowing supplies to flow through. But
And then 2 decades later, we kicked that wall down. Kablooey!
no, it'd be
4 decades?
yeah.
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 Hasselhoff was there. Drunk Hasselhoff.
This is what he remembers. This okay.
Great.
You know what? Get some
Whatever.
current events for us or something.
Oh, man. Yeah, let's talk about current events. So, today we learned about a gal named Alexandria Cortez. She's a 20-year-old Puerto Rican. What's wrong with your face?
No.
I mean, it's just uglier than usual. It's usually ugly, but right now.
Yeah. If I'm remembering correctly, she's a new
New congresswoman.
Congresswoman.
Well, yeah. Well, no, she's not yet, but she got.
She's
the-
elect.
Yep.
Congresswoman
For the Democratic Party. So the reason we like her, and she's awesome because she's 20 years old, she beat out the incumbent by the name of Joe Crowley. This guy was 56. Get this, Joe. This dude had been in Congress for 10 terms. 10
That's
terms.
20 years.
Yes. Is that too long?
That's way too long.
Yeah, that is way too long.
Way too long.
Way to go, New York City, for voting him out. This guy was top notch too. There was rumors that he was going to be the next Speaker of the House for the Democratic Party. This guy was well cemented. He knew his way around.
Please don't do that. Please don't do that. Please don't make him the next next minority leader. Because I'm telling you, Aunt Nancy is just the best.
Oh no!
Like I could watch her sound bites for hours.
Yeah. If you could point to one person who's completely demolished the Democratic Party from the inside, thank you, Nancy. But anyways, we're going to talk about Alexandria today because this is the epitome of what we want to happen in Congress. We need people like her who are willing to step up to the man. Literally, the man who's been in Congress for 20 plus years and be like, I'm going to try this. I got it.
All right.
I think I got what it takes to take down the man. And she did.
I see where you're going with
She
this.
beat him by 15% in the polls.
Wow.
Now, she calls herself a socialist Democrat. I'm not sure what that means.
Democratic Socialist. Translation, you get to elect your overlords.
Yeah. So she believes in things like universal health care, free university tuition,
Oh,
which is, yeah, that's just,
there is not nearly enough vodka in this water to get me through continue talking about her.
yeah.
Oh,
So we're not big friends of the Democrats or the Republicans, so
but especially not Democratic Socialists.
whatever that is. But when you talk about things like free health care and free college tuition, that's
There's
kind of where we draw the
nothing
line.
free about it. That is, if you want anything to be the most expensive it can be, have the government tell you it's free.
Right?
But good on her for stepping up and knocking out, not physically, but I wish so, that would have been awesome. You know, the dinosaur who's been there too long.
Right? So this is the way it should be, right? We can still give you kudos, even though we're not aligned on the same political beliefs. I still think you did the right thing, and I hope you keep doing it.
Agreed.
Keep it up.
Agreed.
We'll see how far you can go, Alexandria. Good job.
Yeah, well done.
Now into Sweden.
Sweden, yeah. Yeah, so they're having a little turnaround of their own, kind of, sort of.
They're trying.
A little bit. They're starting
We'll
it.
see.
They're starting there. So Sweden is kind of backing off their socialist stance a little bit.
Come to learn the lesson the hard way.
Yeah, they're
haven't we?
rethinking their welfare state a little bit. Because their population increased 5% in 5 years. A country of 10 million people, that's like the population of New York City crammed into a country. Like urban New York City, not the whole thing. And they just took in 600,000 immigrants over the last 5 years.
And how do you take care of hundreds of thousands of people coming in who can't work, take care of themselves?
You don't. Like their little cafeteria socialist system, it requires, very strict controls to provide services for just the people that are there. They're already paying. Their top income tax bracket is 60%. 60 cents of every dollar you make goes to the government.
So over half of my paycheck would go to the government,
Correct.
and they would do whatever they want with it.
Correct. Now they do. To their credit, they're doing okay. They actually have a budget surplus. They're not spending all that money and then some like we do. They are actually stocking it away as in a part of a rainy day fund for when the economy tanks. But still, the point is you're paying over half your income in taxes to the government, and it's a very delicate balance to maintain that. But then you add another 5% of people who are not qualified workers in your country but are still dependent on your benefits, it breaks the system.
Yep.
So they're starting to be like, hang on, this ain't working.
You can't maintain that.
You can't. It's not sustainable.
So.
And they're starting to realize that. And good on you, Sweden. Now that you're starting to have hospitals shut down because you can't have people staff them, you can't afford it.
For realizing your boo-boo there.
Yeah. I'm sorry that it took your number of patients waiting 90 days or more for a procedure going up 300% to get you there, but good on you for realizing it.
Yeah. Better late than never, huh? Okay, South China Sea. South China Sea. There's always some excitement going on there.
It's so peaceful there.
You made a joke.
No, I'm serious. The Chinese, they're not going to militarize it.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's what they said in 2015.
Yeah, they promised.
We will leave the South China Sea alone.
Exactly.
General Mattis, Mad Dog Mattis. What service did he serve in?
You know what? I will say it proudly. Mattis is like the one Marine I absolutely respect the heck out of.
The top devil
including
dog.
Him.
Ha! He is awesome. So he's in China today having a talk with them, and he said that to him. Remember back in 2015, President, when you said you wouldn't militarize South China Sea? Guess what they're doing right now? They're putting bombs, missiles. Yeah, all sorts of stuff in the South China Sea. This is a big deal, people, because the entire rest of the international community recognizes the South China Sea as international waters.
Yeah.
And there's an international law to protect that, and China will obey international law, right? I mean, they respect that.
I can't think of a law that China would obey.
Oh my goodness, right? That was a joke.
Yeah.
They do not respect
Not really
international
at all,
law.
under
But it's a
any
big deal because it is a hubbub. All sorts of ships going in and out. You got Taiwan right there. You got the Philippines right there. Vietnam, China.
Yep.
So you got all these ships going through there, and China is trying to say, nope, ours. You want to pass through there? You're going to pay us money. No.
No.
Not gonna happen.
No.
And now they're starting to put munitions there.
Missile batteries, yeah.
Yeah. Are they trying to threaten people going through there with their delivery ships, cargo ships? Really?
Yeah.
This is a big deal. Why are we not talking about this?
Well, honestly, sending Mattis there is kind of a signal that they're done talking anyway.
Stand by, folks.
Oh, boy.
Out to get real. But the reason this concerns me is because China doesn't do stuff like that without intent. They have
Correct.
intent when they do stuff like that.
Correct.
They're not going to do that to flex muscles.
No, they're playing chess.
Yeah. And they have claimed forever that Taiwan has been their territory. Not once has anybody ever in the international community said, yes, Taiwan is part of your territory.
Nope.
And they're still saying, we don't care what you guys say. That is our island.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Wonder what the Taiwanese think about that.
Yeah, they don't like that.
I don't think so.
Everybody else recognizes them. They have their own government and have for a long time, but
They have their own flag.
right?
Just saying.
China. Get out of the South China
Seriously,
Sea.
just stop.
And they're creating their own islands there too.
Oh yeah, they're dumping dredged up sand from the bottom of their harbors to make
Build it up,
islands.
build it up, and
Because by international law, your farthest land of your country dictates your international borders. You own 100 miles of sea beyond it. So the farther out you push your man-made islands, the farther out you own the sea.
Yep. So if they make an island 100 miles out, then 100 miles past that, theirs, right?
Yep.
And now they're putting airfields on these man-made islands too. Big deal, folks.
Of course they are.
All right. Oh my gosh! Now we both bowed our heads because we know what's coming up next.
Yeah.
It's about to get pretty brutal here right now. Take it away,
Yeah.
Joe.
So, apps, big thing, right? Everybody has a smartphone these days.
I love my apps. I got a lot of good apps.
I have a lot of good apps too.
Love it. Technology, good
There
stuff.
are hooah. There are a lot of not good apps, and they are really, really gaining prevalence among younger audiences. Do you know what's on your kid's phone?
Do you?
Because I bet you don't. If you're like most people, if you're like most parents, you want to assume the best about your kid, and good on you for it. And maybe your kid is doing the right thing 100% of the time. Chances are not. There are a lot of apps out there that were either created to enable hiding things from your parents, or that is an unintended consequence of their design. But either way, these apps enable and encourage abuse.
They're out there. They're real, and they like
And
Joe
they are
said.
changing all the time. Like I can't, it's not even worth my time to list a lot of the apps that are out there that do this, because 6 months from now the list will be irrelevant.
Yep. For one, I want to talk about, there's an app out there called the Calculator app.
Calculator Plus.
Yeah, first of all, every smartphone, tablet has a calculator installed on it. You don't need a calculator app. But the purpose of that is so that you can hide pictures from your parents. Probably nude pictures.
Yeah.
Why are you hiding that stuff from your parents?
Yeah. And if you're a parent, why are you allowing your kids to have unrestricted access to that kind of filth? The internet is both the best and the worst thing that ever happened to humanity because it allows us to instantly connect with anyone, which is a good thing, right? It brings people together. That's was the intent, as I understand it, behind most social media platforms, is to bring people together, and that is a good thing.
It's awesome.
But it also introduces sharks into the fish tank. It introduces predators.
Yep, they're there.
And they are ruthless, and they are getting bolder, and they have more and more immediate and instant access to your kids. There are whole divisions of metropolitan police departments dedicated to these kind of apps, to these kind of predatory apps, because it is making it so easy for pedophiles to stalk and interact with your kids.
So as parents, the only way that we can get ahead of this is to get involved, right? Me and Joel are both parents. We don't allow our children to have unfettered access to the internet.
Absolutely not.
So you've got to get ahead of the game, right? You can't be the parent that says, hey, 10-year-old son, come here and show me how to work my phone. You cannot do that.
No.
You've got to stay on top of it. The same with game consoles, okay? They
Absolutely,
all connect
yes.
to the internet. Don't be that person that just abandons your kid in their room with their game console while you go to sleep.
Nope.
You are subjecting them to stuff. That stuff inadvertently pops up. Get ahead of the game. Get on it.
There are monitoring apps out there that allow you to monitor your kids' data, allow you to monitor what texts they get. Use it. Your kids are children, okay? Even if they're 17 and a half, even if they're a day away from 18, they're not adults yet. They don't have the right to privacy that we do as adults. Their brains have not developed enough to intelligently make their own decisions. And you are not the only influence in their life. In fact, if your kids go to school during the day and you go to work during the day, you probably have the least amount of influence over their lives right now. Their friends at school have way more influence over them than you do, especially if you have preteens and teenagers. What they say, what their friends say, has a lot more impact over their lives than what you say. And if their friends are showing them these apps and saying, hey, let's do this because we can pull an end run behind your parents and talk back and forth, they're going to do it because they want to fit in.
My 10-year-old used the word lit up for the first time the other day.
Dun, dun, dun.
What now? Boy, what did you just... It was funny. Anyways, it's a big deal. That's why it's a current event. It's getting
Stay
huge.
on top of it. All we're preaching right now is just responsible parenting. It's nothing tyrannical, just responsible parenting in the digital age.
Relationships.
Yes.
Along with parenting, along with couples, married couples, relationships. This is my like and my dislike today.
That was a good segue, by the way. Nice.
You're
well
welcome.
done.
I know. Marines are good like
A
that.
segue means transition.
Oh, stop it.
I'm trying to speak Jarhead.
Good luck with that, Joe.
Yeah.
Much better.
All right.
Much gooder. Okay, relationship positivity. This is alike, people. This is what we need to do. When you want your relationships, whether you're married or you're dating, you want it to work out, right? You got to have positivity involved in your relationships.
Correct.
You got to have empathy. You need to be able to speak their language and get on their terms and get in their shoes.
Yep.
So you all have your own things, right? You have your own things that you like to do, your own cultures, your own background of where we're coming from. So in order to understand that person, in order to be involved with them, to fall in love, there's got to be positivity. There's got to be empathy. So find the things that are good in your life, focus on that, build upon those things, and don't focus on the things that separate you guys.
That is so important with the trend in marriage these days, trending toward divorce in a higher and higher numbers.
So we're at 60% in America, people.
That's craziness.
Yeah.
That is ridiculous.
More people are getting divorced and staying together.
That's like Swedish income tax levels of divorce. That's ridiculous.
And that brings me to the other side of this. My dislike is the relationship shame. You know, when you have unrealistic expectations of your spouse. So let's just say your spouse stays at home, like my wife does. You can't come home and just be like, okay, what's your problem? I see that you had a hard day. Your oldest kid is 10. What's wrong with you? You send them to go outside to go play. You tell them to do the chores. You can do all that from the couch. Don't shame your spouse, whatever it is.
No.
You can't do that job?
That is
I can
never
do
the
that
right
job.
answer.
Why can't you go find a job that makes more money? Stop shaming. All right, stop having unrealistic expectations. Have a little bit of empathy. Put yourself into their shoes. Do you truly
Absolutely.
understand what's going on? Relationships are a big deal. They are the matter that build our society, okay? The building blocks, family, units. That is what it's about. Not Trump's tweets, no matter what the media tells you.
Nope.
We've got to start there. We've got to keep those relationships building. Bring your positivity back in. Do what you need to do.
Yeah, seriously. Marriage is not 50-50. It can't be. Divorce is 50-50. Marriage should be 100-100, both sides.
Right?
It has to be.
If you're not putting all in, you're not going to get anything.
Absolutely. Correct.
So, what's your like and dislike?
Well, last time I said that in a future episode I was going to talk about OCS officers. And I thought I'd be doing that a little farther in the future, but I don't know. It's been kicking around in my head. So I'm going to use that as my like and my dislike today.
OCS is
Officer Candidate School. So it's generally prior enlisted soldiers, or jarheads, who became non-commissioned officers, became sergeants, and decided to go the officer route.
We call them Mustangs. Did you call them Mustangs?
Yeah, it's the same. It's cross services. Mustangs.
Boom.
Or bootstrappers, one of the two.
Yes.
But I have found, as an OCS officer, I have found that...
Oh, you're an officer, that's right. Oh, that explains why you're so lazy.
and it says a lot about you that you forgot that.
Mm-hmm.
Like how... we literally talked about this right before the show, so...
I don't know that it's that
He
I
doesn't have a
forgot,
short-term memory.
that I just didn't care enough.
Oh, well, I mean, yeah. It doesn't involve crayons or killing, so that pretty much leaves your topics of conversation out.
Relevance in the Army.
Anyway, I have found that OCS officers generally are either the better officers or the absolute worst. Now, the better OCS officers are the prior NCOs who...
What's an NCO?
Non-commissioned officer. You're right, thank you. Sergeants. Prior sergeants who know what a sergeant's lane is, know what his responsibilities are, and stay out of his lane or her lane and let them do their job, which is leading soldiers or Marines.
Hoorah.
That is the function of a non-commissioned officer. They are leaders. They're not planners, they are leaders. They can do planning, but they generally leave that stuff to the officers. A good OCS officer remembers what it was like to be a non-commissioned officer, to be a sergeant, stays out of his sergeant's lane, and lets him do his job or her job. The worst OCS officers are the ones who can't get over the fact that they're not NCOs anymore, that they can't get over that sergeant mentality, and they end up being micromanagers who try to control everything down to the nth detail, and they have no trust in their NCOs to do their job.
Yeah, those butter
I
bars.
can't stand that. Oh my gosh, I
You
can't
just gotta
stand
give that butter bar officer the stink eye. What are you telling me to do now?
it. Yes.
Shoot.
My dad was a Mustang. My dad was a enlisted sailor. He was Navy. Mustanged his way up to become.
So
what's
nobody
the
in your
Navy one?
family's mad enough to join the real military then, huh? Whole bunch of wannabe Marines over that side. Wow.
No,
Making sense, Joe.
no. I think we really dodged a cultural bullet there. Anyway, the best advice he gave me when I was going to go to OCS was he gave me a scenario. You have 10 soldiers and a sergeant, and you need a flagpole built. What do you do? And I was like, all right, well, where's the flagpole going to go? What materials do we need? He's like, stop.
It's not your job.
Sergeant, I need a flagpole built right here. You have 2 hours to get it done. I'll be back in an hour to check on you.
Okay.
Here's where you go to get the supplies. See ya.
And as an
And
officer, he
you
goes
let
and
him
takes
do
a
his
nap.
job. No, I'm planning where the next flagpole goes, or doing whatever good. I'm carrying out whatever good idea Ferry bit the battalion commander that then got passed on to my company commander.
Let's keep going with the military.
Yes.
Because there's a Medal of Honor guy we want to talk about.
Dude, so legit. Garland Merle Connor. He unfortunately he passed away not too long ago. But Trump on yesterday, gave his Medal of Honor to his widow. That dude, I looked up. It originally was a Distinguished Service Cross, which is just below the Medal of Honor. And there's been a huge campaign going on for years to get it upgraded to the Medal of Honor.
Mm-hmm.
If you Google him, GarlinConner, Garland Connor, his citation for that medal is unbelievable. Like he was
War II, right?
World War II. His position was being overrun by, I want to say, almost 1,000 Germans.
Oh, jeez.
With tanks. He's calling in artillery fire on tanks and just barbarian hordes. He was calling in artillery so close that he was killing Germans with it 15 feet away from him.
Chopper right here.
Yeah, danger close.
Right here on me, folks.
I cannot do justice to that citation. Please Google him, read it. The guy was a massive hero.
It is pretty awesome. And to the people who are going to be out there squawking, say, "Oh, it took so long. Why didn't?" You know what? He got it.
Exactly.
Got it. That's what matters. That's what we want to celebrate.
For everybody who gets a Medal of Honor or gets a Distinguished Service Cross or gets something like that, there are 100 guys out there who did something just as cool that didn't make it, that didn't get anything for it. So it is important that we recognize the people who are heroes who actually made it or who have the ability to be recognized for it. A country needs its heroes.
Hoorah, Connor. Well done.
Actually, he was 3rd Infantry Division, 3-7.
Moving on to end our last segment with a review. Today we're going to talk about Project Loon. I think this is pretty cool. All the research I've dug up, I haven't found any cons about it so far. But Project Loon is something that Google has put forward by, I think it's one they had. So their parent company is Alphabet. It owns Google, Google X, and a bunch of others.
Yep.
So one of those companies put out Project Loon. They're throwing these big, huge, massive hot air balloons into the sky. They're like the size of basketball courts. They're so big. And they have connectivity devices to them, right?
Yeah, it's basically like floating Wi-Fi.
Yeah, exactly. So they put a couple in the air, and then you got the receivers, doodads on the ground that go up and they connect to them, right? So we send these over these countries where it's too expensive to build towers or to put cable on the ground, and then you get internet for the people at crazy, crazy cheap prices. Not only are they sending these to countries like Kenya, where there's like 60% of people that are only connected to the internet, so it's going to lower their bills a lot. So money back to the people, that's a good thing. But it's going to places like Indonesia as well. Bunch of islands, Sri Lanka, where there's like no internet. So
Right.
Google wants to send it to these places to help people get connected. And we were talking about that earlier, about helping people get connected.
That's a good thing. That is a positive about the internet, is it does bring people together.
So yeah, we are bringing these third world countries onto the world stage. That is what we want.
And good on them for it.
Yep.
And it's ungodly expensive for them.
Yeah, so they have been doing this for years. Since 2010 is when this, at least when as far as the research I could go back, is when the idea was born. So a couple of other things they've tried to do, like they've tried to do the drones. Facebook tried to do that. You put their hot antennas on the drones, you fly them around. It was just too expensive. They were too big. There was too many crashes. These hot air balloons they're not hot air balloons. These balloons have crashed as well. Nobody's died from them. But the thing that I love the most about Project Loon is they had used these in 2 disasters. The most recent one was in Puerto Rico after that hurricane.
Yep.
What was the name of that hurricane? Hang on, I got it. I don't got it. Puerto Rico Hurricane Maria, right?
Yep.
So nobody could talk to each other. There was no internet. The phones didn't wouldn't work. So Google, thank you.
Yeah,
You sent
well
your
done.
balloons down there, got people connected. We would not have got help there that fast. People would not been able to work together without those. In the air.
And there's going to be people that say like, oh, you're mining metadata and they're just doing this so they can jack up the prices later. Look, maybe so. I don't know. But the fact is, they did it and it enabled people to help each other and enabled coordination of efforts to help the country. That's a win as far as I'm concerned.
Right. And if it does get to the point where they start abusing that, that's where we the people step in. Don't
Correct.
point at the government to solve your problems.
Yep.
We'll do it. We the people! Or at least the jarheads will come in. and save
Jarheads
the
aren't
day.
people.
What?
You're not people.
Are we awesome sauce?
Like, I'll give you like 3/4 of a step above trained monkeys.
God's army.
Yeah. You notice the expression isn't God's Marine Corps? What? Oh, look at that poopy lip. Oh, that's just...
I don't get it.
I know you don't, and that just makes it funnier.
So, the Marines in the Army almost played nice today.
Almost.
You're still ugly.
Well, I can't help that.
I tried. I'm sorry. Well, we tried. Is that our show?
That's our show.
Awesome.
When's the next formation?
Next formation, Monday. Right?
No.
Today's Wednesday?
We tape Monday.
Yeah, we tape Monday. So it'll come out Tuesday. We'll be here Monday.
We'll be here Monday.
All right. Platoon dismissed.
Hoorah.
Don't do that!
I beat you to it.
Gosh. You're not worthy! Take it back!
Never.
Oh my
Death
gosh.
first.
I'm out. What are you doing? Oh, I need a new Joe!